Conditions, or conditionals, allow our code to make decisions by evaluating values. Before we get started writing what we would call an if statement, which would generally evaluate a conditional, it's important to look at how we evaluate values and make decisions based on those values. We do this with a series of evaluation operators, and you might be familiar with these from any time you've ever looked at any form of math. Let's say I want to know if one number is bigger than another number. I'm going to create two integers, and then I'm going to evaluate them to see how they compare to each other. So I have two integers, num1, which equals 5, and num2, which equals 7. I've also declared a variable named result that is a boolean. Whenever we compare two things, the result is always a boolean, or bool, equaling either true or false. With programming, all decisions effectively become true or false. We can't evaluate any other type of outcome. We can either determine is something true or is something false. More complex decisions are generally just a series of true or false decisions that seem more complex on the outside. Let's take a look at what we mean. What I'd like to determine is if num1 is greater than my variable num2. By using the greater than operator, a value of either true or false will be placed inside the Boolean variable result. Then, if I want to output that result to the log, I can see exactly what that value is. Now if I go into Unity and run this, I'll see what the value is. I'm going to go ahead and run the scene, and I will see that this is false. Num1 is not greater than num2. All decision making in programming is basically this. It seems complex, but it's not. It's just a series of yes or no questions. I can also say, is num1 less than num2? And the result, as we can imagine, will be true. I'll press play, and we'll see the value is true. These conditionals, or comparisons, are how we make these decisions. And like I had said previously, the results will always be either true or false. So let's take a real quick look at all of the different comparison operators we have available to us. We've already seen less than and greater than, but we can also add an equal sign to say, is num1 greater than or equal to num2? We can also say, is num1 less than or equal to num2? If we would like to test if two things are the exact same, or are equal to each other, you might think we would just type something like this. Result equals num1 equals num2. However, the single equal sign is not a comparison. It's not saying, are these two things the same? A single equal sign is saying, take the value that's on the right and put it on the left. If we want to test if two things are the same as each other, we use two equal signs. Now what we have is a statement saying, is num1 equal to num2? And then it puts the result of that in the Boolean variable result. If we go to Unity and run this, we will see that they are in fact not the same thing. If we wanted to make them the same thing, just to ensure that this code works, we can come back to Unity and run it again, and we see that now they are exactly the same. In this example, I'm using these with integers, but it's worth noting that we can do this with strings, transforms, game objects, pretty much anything we want to. Another important comparison operator is the not operator, to say is something not something else. So for instance, if I wanted to say, is num1 not equal to num2? I can do so with the not operator, which is the exclamation mark. Now this statement says, is num1 not the same as num2? If I run this now, we should get a result of false. And we do. It's worth noting that the not operator requires a Boolean to work. Therefore, we can use the not operator to flip the result of something. So for instance, if we wanted to say, is num1 the same as num2, and store the result in the variable result, like so, Currently, we would get a value of true written to the log, since num1 and num2 are the same. However, if we wanted to write the opposite of the result to the log, we could do so simply by putting the not operator in front of it. Now we're writing not the result to the debug.log. So what would have been a true value, now when I run this, will be a false value. And we see that it is that. These operators like the equality operator, are two things the same, less than operator or greater than operator, and the not operator are the basis or foundation of all decision making in all software.